It now happens to be on the 15th of Tammuz, the Hilula of a famous Moroccan rabbi. His name was Rabbi Yair Hafota Z'tl, one of the great rabbis of his time, Moroccan-Israeli rabbis who become actually the chief, let's say, head rabbi for the Sephardi community in Be'er Ya'akov at one stage in time, at the latter part of his life. There happens to be a city more in the southern part of Israel, quite near Nes Tzionah, respectively. He was not sure the exact date when he was actually born, but he passed away in the year 2003. We're talking about 22 years ago. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, he was born in an area in Morocco, famous place called Marrakesh, a place we've spoken about on various occasions before in this series. His father's name was Rav Moshe, and his mother's name was Rabbanit Esther. And it's actually reported that his paternal grandfather was a famous Rabbi Masud Hafota, who I believe happened to be the city rabbi of Bnei Malal. This is a place we've spoken about on various occasions before, more in the central part of Morocco, and quite near the Tazmit mountain. And he was one of three shochet. He was part of one of three famous families of shochets in Marrakesh. And his maternal grandfather was another famous rabbi, Rabbi Abraham Mor Yosef, another great rabbi I believe we've spoken about on various occasions before in this series. He would go on to learn the great yeshiva in Marrakesh in Morocco. First of all, in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yaakov Dahan, another rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. He happened to be a Dayan, a Rosh Yeshiva in Marrakesh, and really at the earlier parts of the 20th century. Afterwards, he would go on to learn inside the Talmudic Academy, the yeshiva of Rabbi Avram Abitbol, very great rabbi. He happened to be also Rosh Yeshiva, Darshan in Marrakesh, and rabbi of congregation in Morocco, respectively. Then, under the auspices of Rabbi Mordechai Korkos, who happened to be also a head of Jewish court, once again a Rosh Yeshiva in Marrakesh, so was very, very well traveled in Morocco and in Marrakesh all throughout his time, and much of his Torah teachings would actually, he would write down various different Torah teachings all throughout. He would go on to become famous as in Marrakesh, and as a great Torah scholar. He was well known to be part of a great group of Talmudic students that would get, and many students would come around him, especially on Shabbat. He would start giving classes. He would be eventually appointed the head shochet of the city, and he'd also be a sofer, a scribe, and very much part of the rabbinic court of another famous rabbi we've spoken about before, Rabbi Moshe Zerihan. Rabbi Moshe Zerihan happened to actually have been the chief rabbi of Marrakesh for a staggering 40 years and a head of Jewish court over there. He would also have an integral head role in the synagogue called the Tzelat El Kabira in Marrakesh, where he would also be a shliach tzibur, a cantor over there, and the reader. He would actually read the Kriyat HaTorah over there, very prominent, and vast amount of positions over there. His wife's name was Rabbanit Masuda. She happened to be the daughter of Rabbi Shlomo Amar, a rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before, and the descendants of various great rabbanim. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they actually, there's a rabbinical lineage of the Pinto family they actually come from, so really greatness. Now, come what year, I think it was Hey Tafshin Tet, that was around, I'm not so sure, maybe 1949 or 1959, I think it was 1949, if I'm not mistaken. He would make Aliyah, go to Eretz Yisrael. He would go to, or another opinion says it was 1959, I have to double check that. And I think he was, at that stage in time, offered the position as a Dayan in Marrakesh. He wouldn't take it. He would want to come to Eretz Yisrael at that point in time, like many people were doing. I think it was 1949, actually. And he would settle in the Moshav of Be'er Ya'akov. And then after that, he would actually meet the famous chief rabbi at the time of Israel, Rabbi Ben Zion Meir Chai Uziel. Yes, that would explain it was probably more 1949, that period, because I think his tenure, Rabbi Uziel's, as a chief rabbi finished in 1953. Over there, that would make a huge impression on both of them over there. He would sit with him and was impressed, and the chief rabbi was impressed by his generosity, with his character, and convinced him to accept a rabbinical position in any settlement, and gave him choices of what to do. He would prefer, actually interesting enough, like to stay inside the Be'er Yaakov area, and was appointed the rabbi over there. He would serve in this position for a staggering 50 years until he passed away. Now, I think at the time there was an Ashkenazi position of a rabbi serving alongside him. His name was Rabbi Moshe Menachem Yaakovson. I think happened to be he was Ashkenazi rabbi of Be'er Yaakov. And at that point in time, they really tried to strengthen, especially Shabbat observance over there, and Torah in general, and really did huge amounts of kiruvs and outreach work, and really strengthened the Jewish community. Now, I believe he passed away. It was in the year 2003. On the 15th of Tammuz. He was buried in Har Menuchot in Jerusalem. I think actually he's buried near the tomb of Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulay, probably also known as the Hida. There's actually a street, I believe, that's named after the great rabbi in Petach Tikva, interesting enough. Now, among his descendants, his son-in-law is another great rabbi, Rabbi Shmuel ben David. Once again, is a head Sephardi rabbi in Be'er Yaakov and Rosh Kolel Avrechim, if I'm not mistaken, over there. And there's other very interesting. He would also be his son-in-law, the head of the Kolel Avrechim, Reich Asta. I think that's named after Ben Ish Chai, and the rabbi of the Mishkan Yair synagogue, actually named after the father-in-law, respectively. There's actually a very there's more interesting, let's say, informations we could say within regards to him. There's a lot on the internet for sure. I think at the time period of the Kilula, they do, I'd say, special memoriams, especially. I think just to add on, we said that how he descended from the Pinto family. I think they actually come from the Malach area in Marrakesh over there, which is interesting. Another one of his sons was Rabbi Avram Hafota, very, very great rabbi, which we should actually speak more within regards to him. It's interesting. I think his son Rabbi Avram Hafota would publish after his death a book called the Bikurei Abraham, and a composition called Son Yair, if I'm not mistaken, and which has written various things about his father and memories inside his father's name. Just a few highlights within regards to the books, the publications of his. And now that we're here, just using the Hainu website, especially from the Bikurei Abraham book, I think on page 34, it says Melamed lish'ol b'shalom rabo, b'kol pa'am shesholech egret laviv. This is one of the teachings over there. Also, another nice teaching, I think, coming from page number 30 of the book, says, Melamed shayam avarecha ba'im alav, av shelo haben ta'amot shel davar. This is another teaching. And the one last teaching, coming from page 34 of the book, states, Melamed lebanot shegala b'mkomo lilmod Torah, shikarev ha'et l'shuvo ma'od. This comes from page 34. I think this publication was in the year 2000, for a year after the great rabbi has passed away. Now, on the Chadrei Haridim website, they gave, I think at the time of his Hilula, during the coronavirus time period, about 5 years ago, a very brilliant article about him, about life in, let's say, Marrakesh at the time period of his Hilula. This was 5 years ago, stating how he was a head shochet inside the place and head rabbi over there. And I think his son, Rabbi Abraham Hafota, will actually describe his father's life inside this very, very detailed, let's say, article over there. They actually recount over in the Chadrei Haridim website, bhol.co.il, I'm using this from, about the neighborhood of Marrakesh where they grew up in, how it was full of purity and full of Torah and holiness over there. They nicknamed it Little Jerusalem, this area did. There was voices of Torah going on all throughout the place. They talk inside this article, which I'm reading, about the famous yeshivot, especially of Rabbi Yaakov Dahan, who was a great scholar over there, a man of understanding and a man of precision, and a rabbi that knew languages. And just talking about Rabbi Yaakov Dahan, it's related over, he hardly ate or slept. He was just all the time studying Torah the whole time. Another one, the Rosh Yeshiva, as we said, he learned under, was Rabbi Avram Abutbol, who was had a sharpness to him, and really talks about the different piyuts that was actually composed, also thanks to his brilliance, and how he was able to, Rabbi Abraham Abutbol was able to answer very, very complex cases, let's just say, in of itself. They talk about those, and they talk about how his relationship was between other rabbis he learned from. Rabbi Moshe Zerihan, who was head of Jewish court, he was very much part of his court, Hafota was, and Rabbi Mordechai Kokos, who was considered posek, the halachic ruler, the Jewish decider of laws in Marrakesh. It talks about, inside this article, about Rabbi Mordechai Kokos's manuscripts, and with regards to publishing it, I think it would be Rabbi Hafota would actually help in publishing it, looking at the manuscript, also stating about the conciseness of the writings. And it talks about how the groups of people, the Talmidim, the Torah learners, the Talmid Chachamim would study together at nightfall, and they would ask questions and answers robust, and the atmosphere in the yeshiva was absolutely phenomenal. And just going back, just now reading over this article on Chadrei Charedim, when he came to Israel, I think he would spend time in the Porat Yosef Yeshiva. He obviously heard a lot about them. He had a connection with Rabbi Yosef Shlush, and they had obviously connections with regards to Marrakesh over there, and they were. Rav Yosef Shlush was very, very impressed with Rav Hafota, and accompanied. He would actually bring him, to the office of Rabbi Ben Zion Meir Hai Uziel at that point in time, which would actually lead him to get into the position for 50 years of Be'er Yaakov. And many people would actually come to immigrate and would actually move to the Be'er Yaakov neighborhood. I think at the time when he was elected, he was named mayor over there. They would make a nice ceremony for him, give him a special Torah scroll to Rav Hafota as a gift. He was the head of slaughterers over there, shochet over there, and was actually delegating. He was actually instructing everyone, the butchers, the shochets over there, kashrut inspectors, and brought real wisdom, or everything he, let's say, crafted from Marrakesh to Israel. And I think there was an Ashkenazi community over there that came from various different countries in Be'er Yaakov neighborhood, and mainly the Sephardi Jewish people there were people from Libya, from Iraq, from Baghdad, as Morocco also. And he did bring about unison and the unity inside this place, despite there was very different backgrounds people were from. It was very, very diverse. One of the things he tried to combat was people that go off the derech. He made sure that with his wisdom and encouraging us to find Torah scholars, and from the children also. I think he actually recalls, he actually worked very well with Rabbi Moshe Jacobson, who was a head Ashkenazi rabbi of the place. They would actually work together and try and do robust and make it's a joint, let's just say, headship of the place. And there was never a quarrel between them. It was actually interesting. Torah scholars, many people really did recognize him and were encouraged by him and were inspired by him. There was it's a very detailed article I'm looking at here on Chadrei Charedim website. He was very strong when it came to halacha. He would be able to see which maybe some couples came together, they wanted to get married. He could see that maybe he was very meticulous with everything, asking questions with regards to the family backgrounds. He made sure al pi halacha, through halacha, everything will be correct and very interesting. I think he really had a close connection with Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi. He admired Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi happened to have been a great Mekubal and the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva, the Har Shalom, place we visited on this channel before, and there was a connection also between him and he was connected with many of the great rabbis over there. He was close to the Baba Chaki also, I think. He would come to him in a dream, if I'm not mistaken, and scholars would come to, let's say, many time with him. All Israel would actually come to him. They liked his theoretical approach, like the approach that was used in Marrakesh within regards to Torah learning. You know, he would test shochets when he was training the shochets to become kosher slaughterers. Many people would come and ask him various different sheilot, how to do it. He would examine the knives. He was he wanted to make sure that people will understand the depth behind Shechit, for example, especially the Gemara and the Talmud that they're learning, and all the laws, let's say, meticulously in of itself. He was very knowledgeable in many of the laws. Everything, if it came to Hilchot Shechita, business of Torah, for example, foundations of Judaism, and he made sure that the people that would become shochets were very learned scholars and of the highest level, let's just say. It just talks about more inside this article also. I think one of his colleagues at that point in time, Rabbi Tzvi Jacobson, if I'm not mistaken, that had, I think he was also close to the military rabbinate, if I'm not mistaken, and the chief rabbi of the IDF was Rabbi Gad Navon. I think there was a coordination with him also, with regards to Rabbi Yair Hafota. Also, Rabbi Navon was spoken about on various occasions before we actually did a video on him not so long ago, and You just see he was very close with so many people. He talks about inside this article also about Rabbi Shmuel ben David, his Chatan, his son-in-law, who's obviously the head of the Mishkan, Yair, Kolel, Yaakov, and a man that really took his place in the leadership of the community. And what a golden path was set for his son-in-law to follow in his father-in-law's steps with regards to humility and superiorness, let's just say greatness of Torah in of itself, the example that had been, let's say, set by, and how influential he was. He was really influential all throughout the various different spheres of halacha. He had dignity, which will radiate, let's say, all his movementness. People, noble people, exalted men really respected him. He was simplicity, especially when he was speaking, giving Torah class away. He'd give over brilliant wisdom, cleverness, and also, but at the same time with a combination of sincerity, and really could touch his congregation, let's just say, in itself. And many of them, once again, on this article, which I'm reading from, we'll talk about the relationship between Rabbi Jacobson and Tim, like we just spoke about before, on various different occasions. And he was an expert, especially with regards to shochet, and he knew how to speak to various different individuals. He could read people well, and he is a role model, let's just say, for all leaders of all communities in Israel to actually, let's just say, emulate his absolute brilliance. I think the Chadrei Haredim website took this article from somewhere else. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was from the Musaf HaTorani Torah Zahav on Iton Haderech. I think that's a Sephardic flagship newspaper in Israel. So they used that article very much in the Chadrei Haredim website, which I'm reading now with regards to the great rabbi. Now, Rabbi Yair Hafota Z'tl's Hilula is going to be actually this week. Don't forget to light candles in his memory. It's going to be on the 15th of Tammuz. It's going to be. Hopefully, maybe we'll cover a video on maybe other members of his family. Also, now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about great rabbis of yesteryear. If you descend from any of the great chachamim we are speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please subscribe. We are on a phenomenal near 7,000 subscribers. If you feel anyone's interested in watching these videos, share these videos also to other people. And if you descend from any of these rabbis, once again, please let me know. I would love to hear more information. So please, everyone, don't forget to light candles as a memory. Any advice also, we're also an online community that's not just looking at the great rabbis of yesteryear. Another project that we're doing on this, let's say, on this channel, we're doing Daf Yomi videos, Daf Yomi tidbits every single day of the great rabbis of the Talmud in of itself. We do Parshat HaShavua classes, we cover. We tour all over Israel also. So we are really covering a huge amount. And we spoke at Rosh Chodesh. Another exciting project that we do on this channel is we have a different incredible rabbi or Jewish personality that will give over a few minutes of chizuk, of strengthening in Torah, some different insights to energize everyone's day that is watching. So watch this channel, check out all the playlists, and don't forget to subscribe now. Wishing you all a great day. Thank you everyone for watching also.